So, in the last lesson in this course on UX strategy and leadership, I asked you to take a look at your role, your resources, and your reach. Now, over the next three lessons, we're going to dive into those three areas in more detail, starting with your role and how it aligns with something much bigger, your organizational goals. Because if you want UX to be seen as more than a support function, you can't define your role in isolation. You need to connect it to the outcomes your leadership team is already striving for. One problem I see is that UX practitioners implicitly wait for their managers to define their role. Maybe they don't directly ask, what should my role be? But their behavior suggests they expect management to take the lead. Most managers don't have the time or the context to define your role in a meaningful way. They don't know what your skill set is, and they don't always understand UX deeply. And they're juggling dozens of other priorities as well. So, what do you get in return? Either something vague and generic, or a polite but firm, just keep doing what you're doing. That's not leadership, that's maintenance. Instead of asking what your role should be, come to them with a proposal. Show that you've thought about what your role should be and how it can add the most value. Frame it in terms they care about. Make it easy for them to say yes. This isn't just a UX tip, it's a universal rule for working with leadership. Never go to management with a problem unless you also are bringing a potential solution. Every organization has a strategy document floating around somewhere. It might be a PowerPoint from the senior leadership team, a CEO memo, or a PDF in your company wiki that nobody's opened since it was uploaded. Dig it out and read it carefully. These documents are more than corporate fluff. They are the map to influence. Inside, you'll usually find the goals that matter most to your leadership team over the next 1 to 5 years. Things like reaching new customer segments, increasing revenue per user, improving employee productivity, strengthening brand loyalty, reducing operational costs, that kind of thing. These aren't just executive priorities, they're your starting point. Because when you tie UX to goals that are already considered urgent and important, people stop seeing your work as nice to have. Take each goal and ask yourself, how could UX contribute to this? You might be surprised how often the answer is quite a lot. For example, if the goal is to improve employee satisfaction, you might look at internal tools staff use every day. Could they be more intuitive, faster, or less frustrating? If it's about growing market share amongst Gen Z, consider whether your digital products align with their expectations around speed, personalization, or visual language. And if leadership wants to reduce support costs, you could examine the onboarding experience, help content or navigation to reduce friction and prevent confusion. Now, not every goal will have a clear UX application, and you don't need to force it. Your job here is to find the intersection where user experience has a natural role to play in business success. Once you've mapped out a few potential connections, it's time to focus. Ask yourself two questions. How important is this goal to the business right now, and how much influence do I realistically have over it? Goals that rank high on both fronts should be your top priority. That's where you'll have the best chance of delivering visible results that earns you trust. Also consider the feasibility. Some goals might be technically within your remit, but would require fighting through years of legacy systems or organizational red tape. Save those for later. Start with what you can move quickly on and show value for. With your priorities in place, draft a simple one-page proposal. This doesn't need to be formal or fancy, it just needs to show your thinking. Structure it like this: your understanding of the company goal, a brief summary in your own words, where UX can contribute, a few bullet points about how user experience can support each goal, your role, a description of how you propose to spend your time and focus your energies, and next steps, what you'd like to do next, and any input or validation you're seeking from your manager. So a simplified example that just focuses on one goal, you'll want to do this exercise for all the relevant business objectives, might be company goal: increase first year customer retention by 15%. UX contribution: redesign the onboarding experience, improve clarity of initial comms, run usability testing on account setup. Your role: lead a cross-functional initiative to streamline onboarding and reduce user drop-offs within the first 30 days. Next step: Kick off an initial discovery session with customer support and product next week. Now, that's just a basic example. Your actual proposal would go into more detail and would obviously cover multiple goals. And you can present this informally over coffee, in a one-to-one meeting, or in a short follow-up email. The point is to shift the conversation from what should I be doing to here's what I believe I can help with. Does this align with your thinking? This process does more than just define your role. It helps educate your manager and your colleagues about the value of UX without lecturing them and asking them to read articles. It also gives them more of a sense of ownership because if you involve them in shaping those priorities, they're more likely to defend and champion them when needed. This kind of soft influence builds credibility fast. You're not just seen as the designer anymore. You've become someone who can help the business solve problems. So far we've looked at aligning your role with that of what the organization wants to achieve. And next time we're going to talk about how you can realistically achieve that given your current resources. Because defining your role is one thing, delivering on it is another. And we need to make sure that your ambitions are rooted in what's actually possible. In the meantime, see if you can track down your company strategy document. Read it through and highlight, 3 to 5 goals that UX could directly support. If you find something interesting or surprising, then drop me an email to paul@boagworld.com and tell me all about it. I'd love to hear.